My wife went to a party without me, even though I asked her not to. Later, I found out she cheated on me there. I'm 29, she's 23. We've been married for 3 years, together for almost 6. We don't have kids or any major assets, but we do have more debt than money in our bank account. We rent a house, and I'm the primary provider. I make about $4,000 a month, while she brings in around $1,500. I work hard to make sure she has the life she's used to. My coworkers are a great bunch, really tight-knit. One of them, a guy I'd worked with for almost 3 years, invited me to join a recreational soccer league. I've been playing with them for 2 years now. My wife came to every game, and I thought it was her way of supporting me. But deep down, I always had this nagging feeling that she was more interested in the drinking that came with it. I usually kept my drinking in check because of the games, but she never held back. After our matches, the team and a few friends would either hang out at someone's place or hit a bar and order pizza. A couple of weeks ago, we planned to meet up at a teammate's house in a nearby town. After the game, I told everyone we wouldn't be going since I had to get up early for work. On the way home, my wife texted one of the guys, a guy I considered a friend, asking him to drive her to the party. Right there in the car, she asked for my permission to go. I told her no, explaining that I wanted us to spend the evening together and that I needed rest. She got mad and stopped talking to me. When we got home, my so-called friend pulled up outside our house. My wife made her decision she was going. I was furious. I walked over to his car and told him I didn't approve, asking him to leave. But she stepped out of our car and got into his. They drove off. Seething, I grabbed her old iPad, the one I had bought her years ago. I could track her location on it. I tried to stay up, but around 3 in the morning, I finally passed out. When I woke up, she was back in our bed. I had no idea when she got home. I got ready for work and left without waking her or kissing her goodbye. That had never happened before. I wanted her to realize I was pissed. Before leaving, I tossed the iPad into my bag. Later that day, after a meeting at work, I pulled it out. A notification popped up from a messaging app. My friend was typing. I opened the chat. Even though the app was supposed to delete messages automatically, the outdated version on the iPad still showed them in real time. My stomach dropped. He was making crude jokes about what happened last night. Then it got worse. He mentioned that a few other guys had joined in on the fun. And then I saw the worst part. My wife had asked him to send her a graphic video from that night. And he did. I felt sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Shaking, I asked to leave work early. When I got home, she was still asleep. I told her to come downstairs. I sat across from her and asked her to tell me everything that happened the night before. She said she just drank, played pool, and talked to people. That was it. Then I asked when she last talked to my friend. She casually said they had exchanged a couple of messages that morning. That's when I dropped the bomb. Would you change your story if I told you I saw your whole conversation with him today? She broke down crying. The first words out of her mouth were, "Are you going to leave me?" She admitted she couldn't remember everything clearly but confessed that she had slept with my friend and another guy from the team that night. Then she said something even worse. There might have been more guys, but she wasn't sure. I was stunned. I asked if this was the first time. She hesitated and then admitted that it had happened before. One time, it even happened in our house while I was sleeping upstairs. That was it for me. I helped her pack a bag, and she left to stay with her family. She begged me not to tell anyone. It's been 2 weeks since then, and I still don't know what to do. I keep hoping this isn't the worst version of events, but honestly, I can't imagine anything worse than finding out your wife has been cheating with the very people you welcomed into your life. And knowing it had been going on for months? That's unbearable. She blames the alcohol, says she's going to start attending AA meetings. Now she wants to go to couples therapy to fix things. I think it's way too late. But at the same time, I feel weak. I'm drowning in emotions, anger, guilt, confusion. I have a meeting with a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I want to believe I'm making the right decision. No matter how sorry she is or how much she wants to fix things, I can't even look at her without seeing that video play in my head. I deserve better. There's no coming back from this, right? I'm not a bad guy, am I? Any support or advice would mean a lot. It's hard to just stop caring about someone who betrayed you so suddenly. Update 1. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the advice, support, and positivity. I know it's been nearly a month since my first post, and a lot of you have been asking how I'm doing. Unfortunately, things went from terrible to something out of a nightmare. There aren't enough words to describe how wrecked I am. I'm sorry this post is going to be long, but there's no way to explain what happened otherwise. A few days after my first post, I took your advice and consulted with a few divorce lawyers, so I'd have my options ready if I decided to go through with it. My wife had no idea I was meeting with lawyers. We hadn't spoken in days after my first post, but she kept insisting that this time, she was serious about going to couples therapy. Funny, because I'd been asking for that for months, long before the night everything fell apart, just to see if there was even a chance to fix things. Deep down, though, I already knew what my decision would be. She actually scheduled a therapy session for us, but it wasn't for another week and a half. In the meantime, I became obsessed with tracking her every move through that damn iPad. I was checking everything, her texts, Facebook, Snapchat, anything I could get my hands on. After a week and a half of nonstop digital surveillance, I didn't find any new evidence of cheating. For a moment, I started to think that maybe, just maybe, she was actually remorseful. Then, the therapy session finally came. The therapist sat us down and asked why we were there. I let her go first. She left out some details but got the general facts right. After listening, the therapist turned to me and asked, "Do you trust her? What do you think about your marriage?" I just shook my head, overwhelmed and in disbelief. Instead of answering, I said, "If I don't say this out loud right now, I'm afraid I never will." There was no turning back for me. "This marriage is over," I continued. "Our vows have been broken. My trust is gone. The only thing left to do is file for divorce." My heart felt like it was being ripped apart, but she completely lost it, full-on hysterical sobbing. I went on. I meant every word I said when I stood at that altar. And if I'm going to be honest with myself, I have to admit that this is beyond repair. For the first time in weeks, I felt a small sense of relief. Saying it out loud, in front of her and a neutral third party, made it feel final. The rest of the session was mostly the therapist explaining to her why my feelings and decision were completely reasonable, given everything that had happened. He tried to calm her down. Honestly, the session went better than I expected. The therapist did recommend therapy, but not as a couple. He suggested we do individual sessions first, to work through our own emotions before even considering reconciliation in the future. Let me make one thing clear, reconciliation is not on the table for me. But individual therapy? That might actually help me. Now, before I continue, I should mention that I knew I was heading into a legal battle that, if it didn't stay civil, could get extremely ugly. As the primary breadwinner in a no-fault divorce state, I stood to lose a lot if she decided to make this messy. Fast forward about a week and a half. By then, we had each gone to at least one individual therapy session. As far as her family was concerned, the story was that we were separating but both trying to heal and move forward. She was still living with them, while I kept up my digital obsession, looking for any sign that she was back to her old ways. Then, just last week, it hit me. There was one place I had never checked. The App Store. I opened her iCloud download history, and there it was. Nearly 2 weeks earlier, she had installed a secret messaging app on her phone. My stomach dropped. All this time, she knew I had access to her iPad. She wanted me to keep it, supposedly to rebuild trust. But the truth was, she had just found a new way to hide things. What she probably didn't realize was that downloaded apps show up in the history of any device linked to the same iCloud account. I needed to know what was in that app. My hands were shaking. I downloaded it onto her iPad, tried a few of her usual password combinations, and then, there it was. The truth. Not only had she kept talking to my so-called friend after our first therapy session, but she was still sleeping with him. She planned their meetups around my schedule, making sure I wouldn't be around. I felt like I was being ripped apart from the inside. I broke down, sobbing. It was the middle of the night, 3 a.m., Monday into Tuesday. I picked up my phone and tried calling my mom. No answer. My dad. Nothing. My sister. She picked up. I could barely get the words out through my crying, but she understood. She knew I was on the edge. She stayed on the phone with me for over an hour, making sure I didn't spiral. Eventually, I calmed down a little. After we hung up, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, exhausted but unable to sleep. The night dragged on until morning. I had work. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. And there it was. The final piece of proof I had been searching for. Undeniable. She wasn't just unfaithful, she was a manipulative liar. I spent the next few days wrestling with what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to expose her. I wanted her family, her friends, everyone, to know exactly who she was and what she had done. But I couldn't. The divorce process was already in motion, and if I blew everything up now, she could retaliate and make it even more expensive and painful for me. So I ignored her calls and messages. Then, finally, she showed up at my place, pretending to check on me. I almost lost it right then and there. But I forced myself to stay cold, distant. I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to handle it yet. Less than a minute in, She lost her patience and started yelling at me, demanding to know why I was acting so weird. That's when I gave her one last chance. Have you spoken to him at all since that night? She didn't even hesitate. No. I blocked him everywhere. I asked again. Are you sure? She looked me right in the eye and said, yes. I haven't talked to him. He disgusts me. I'd never do that to you. That's when I dropped the hammer. What about this app? And what about this video? I held up my phone, playing back every single conversation, every photo they exchanged, every plan they made around my schedule. She collapsed to the floor, wailing, begging honestly. I don't even know what she was saying. I stopped listening. I kept my voice steady, emotionless. Here's how this is going to go. I won't tell anyone what I found. In return, you won't fight me on the divorce. I'll be fair even though I don't have to be. But you're going to sign the papers when you get them. If you try to make this difficult, if you fight me on this, then people will find out exactly what you've done. The choice is yours. She left. 2 days later, she was served with the divorce papers. Since then, I've kept my word. I haven't told anyone outside of my immediate family. But thanks to the locator app, I know exactly where she's been every night. Every evening, she visits him, my so-called friend, the one she swore she blocked. He still lives with his mother, and that's where she's been going. Her family? They think she's attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings every night. But my screenshots of her location tell a different story. Seriously, why the hell didn't she change her iCloud password? I don't know why I keep gathering proof. I don't even need it anymore. But I keep doing it anyway. Right now, I'm just stuck in this limbo, waiting for the period to pass where she still has the right to challenge me in court. The most painful part isn't even the betrayal anymore. It's the sheer injustice of it all. She gets to go about her day like nothing's wrong, surrounded by people who believe she's healing, only to sneak off to him at night. Then she crawls back home in the middle of the night like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I go to work every day, return to an empty house that haunts me, and feel the full weight of what it means to be completely alone in every sense of the word. These are the worst days of my life. I take things hour by hour, day by day, just trying to survive until I reach the point where I can finally walk away from this nightmare, without destroying my finances in the process. What happens after that? I have no idea. Right now, my only goal is making it to that moment. This is my third post here, and hopefully my last. My divorce is officially finalized. I waited 6 long months and 1 day, just to be absolutely sure she couldn't blindside me with some last-minute legal move. Now, it's done. It's over. I've completely cut off all contact with her, and for the first time, I feel like I can finally move forward. My last post was 6 weeks after that night. What I didn't say back then was that I had already filed for divorce. I followed the advice of many kind strangers who urged me to return her iPad and sever all digital ties, no more linked devices, no more social media accounts. I had all the information I needed. I knew what I had to do. My approach to the divorce may have cost me more emotionally in the long run, but financially, it was the smartest move I could make. And at the time, that was all that mattered. I had accepted the reality. This woman would never, ever deserve my trust again. I needed to get rid of her, but I was not about to pay her $2,000 a month in alimony. We don't even have kids. No way in hell was I giving her a cent after what she put me through. I was furious. I thought it over and came up with a plan, a way to end this marriage as quickly and cleanly as possible. Looking back, I'm not exactly proud of the tactics I used to get through the divorce without losing a fortune. But in the end, they worked. Maybe my moral high ground took a hit, but honestly, compared to the mountains of betrayal, pain, and humiliation she put me through, my actions were nothing more than tiny bumps in the road. By the time I wrote my last post, the divorce papers were already in the system, just waiting for approval. She had no idea. She was still living with her family, completely in the dark. Ever since I kicked her out, she was no longer welcome in my home. A few times, I set up meetings with her, pretending I still wanted to try and work things out. That was a lie, of course. But during those conversations, I made one thing very clear. Our marriage was over. I told her she had betrayed me in a way that could never be undone. If we really wanted a fresh start, we'd have to start over from scratch. That meant ending this marriage first, closing the chapter completely, and then, maybe, getting to know each other again. Like dating from square one. I still can't believe she actually bought it. In reality, I was setting up the smoothest, fastest divorce possible. One that would be over before she even realized what hit her. The way I had her sign the papers? That was probably the highlight of it all. I had a mutual friend come over to my place, the house we used to share. He played the role of an impartial witness while she signed the documents. She sealed them in an envelope without even bothering to read them. I doubt she even skimmed the legal jargon, because I had slipped in some very, very favorable terms for myself. No alimony. No financial obligations beyond splitting what was in our joint account at the time. And just like that, it was done. The one thing I wanted to avoid more than anything was paying her alimony. That was my biggest concern. For the first few months, I played the I just need time card, keeping my distance while still meeting with her twice a month, dinners, casual meetups in public places. Just small talk, pretending I still cared. I made sure every meeting was in a public place so she couldn't later claim I did anything to her. I kept up the act, stringing her along. I made her believe I was really working through my emotions, trying to accept what had happened, searching for the strength to forgive so we could maybe reconcile. Of course, I had no intention of doing any of that. Keeping her on the hook gave me the time and leverage to cut her off from my finances, remove her from the lease, and move all her stuff out of the house and into storage. Once everything was squared away, I convinced her that moving her things out of our home would actually help me heal, that it would be easier for me to process her betrayal if I didn't have to see her stuff every day. I even told her we'd find a new place together, a fresh start. Lying to her, keeping her in a state of submission and cooperation, made the hard parts of the divorce incredibly easy. She actually believed she was helping us. 4 months out of the 6 I needed to survive had passed, and I was finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Then, at the start of the 4th month, I got a message from a relative she was staying with. He asked, "Are you two still trying to work things out?" Now, this guy knew about him, knew the whole situation. I wanted to keep up appearances, so I said, "Yeah, why do you ask?" He sent me a picture. It was her and him having dinner together at a restaurant in another city. The message just said, "This is happening right now." Turns out, that relative happened to be out with coworkers after work and spotted them. That's when I made a mistake. I let my emotions take over. I texted her, "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" She replied with a lie. "I'm at an AA meeting right now. I'll call you when I'm done." I shot back. Didn't know AA meetings were held at restaurant name. "And since when is your sponsor your new boyfriend?" She called me immediately. Started screaming at me, accusing me of being a stalker, of spying on her, of acting crazy. I let her have it. Cursed her out. Told her I had nothing left to say to her. And that was it. For the last 2 months of our divorce, she officially started dating him. I blocked them both on everything, but word still got back to me through mutual friends. People started asking questions. More and more people reached out, wanting to know what was going on. Apparently, she was getting bolder, posting status updates, pictures of them together. So when people asked me about my ex, I told them everything. The people I actually cared about, people whose friendships mattered to me, took my side. And honestly, that support meant more than the divorce itself. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't going through this alone. And man, did I talk. Almost everyone I confided in eventually confronted her. They wanted to know who this guy was, why she was posting pictures with him all of a sudden. The general consensus? She had severely downplayed what actually happened. To my knowledge, she never denied cheating. But she did leave out a whole lot of ugly details. So I happily filled in the blanks. Our friends. Even her own family. They were shocked. And I truly believe most of them chose my side. I asked them all to keep the peace until the divorce was finalized. But the longer it dragged on, the bolder she got. More pictures. More public displays. More people calling me, messaging me, telling me what she was up to. Eventually, I had to beg people to stop updating me on her life. It was just too much. A few days before the divorce was finalized, Valentine's Day rolled around. That morning, I woke up to 3 different screenshots from 3 different people. Same post. It was her and him, all cuddled up, with some sappy caption about how God had blessed her with an amazing man, how happy she was, how she hoped to marry him someday. When one door closes, God opens a window. The funniest part? The confused comments. Distant relatives. Old friends. People who didn't know the full story. Who's this guy? A few shocked emoji reactions. I wish I could say I didn't care. But I did. Deep down, I still felt the loss. But at the same time, I felt complete and utter disgust. Disgusted with her. Disgusted with myself for not seeing what a monster she was all those years. And him? I don't even have the energy to hate him. He deserves her. Let him deal with whatever nightmare she becomes. And that thought, in a small way, brought me peace. Finally, the day came. The divorce was official. She never contested a thing. Never filed for anything outside the terms I had set. It was over. I walked away with my entire retirement savings. No alimony. No debt. No court battles. No lawyers. At the end of that day, I blocked her number. The next day, 7 of my closest friends, 6 of whom were mutual friends of ours, threw me a divorce party. They documented the whole night on Snapchat, posting pictures and videos of us celebrating. It was definitely an event worth remembering. As a result, every single one of them got blocked by my ex on social media. A few of them even received some pretty nasty messages from her. P.S. There's still one thing that's been eating at me. Maybe someone can give me advice. Back when I was obsessively digging through her digital trail, I found out that she had slept with a guy from her hometown while all of this was going down. The problem? That guy is her ex. And he's married. With a kid. I've been wrestling with whether I should tell his wife. I feel guilty for staying silent. But at the same time, the thought of blowing up a family, having that on my conscience, terrifies me. Should I say something? If I do, should I tell her who I am, or do it anonymously? This whole thing is like a worm in my brain, gnawing at me, making me sick with anxiety. Some nights, I even have nightmares about it. Any advice would be appreciated. Now, let's hit pause on this and talk about the questions I just asked. What would you do in my situation? And with that, let's move on to the next update. Update 3. In just 17 days, it'll be the 2nd anniversary of my D-Day. Looking back at my old posts, I can honestly say, I never thought I'd make it this far. The pain, the weight of it all, the fear, the depression. It felt impossible to move forward after what my ex-wife did. I hope this will be my final update. It's been a long time since my last post, but some pretty significant things have happened. Things that really show just how awful a person can be. After my divorce was finalized in February 2019, I tried my best to avoid my ex completely. Easier said than done. I never talked to her, but every now and then, I'd see posts from distant relatives I hadn't blocked yet, or a friend would accidentally mention something they saw on Snapchat. My real friends did their best to keep me out of the loop, but some updates were just too big to ignore. The first big one came in May 2019. One of my best friends called me, voice full of disbelief. Your ex is getting married to some guy from Tennessee. Wait, what? It was true. Turns out, a friend's husband hadn't blocked my ex on Facebook and managed to screenshot the whole thing before the wedding announcement went up. To give you a timeline. Between March 2019 and July 2019, my ex and her affair partner, the reason for our divorce, broke up. I have no idea what happened between them or how things ended. Honestly, I would like to know, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. By April, she was already dropping cryptic Facebook posts, stuff about fate, and everything happening for a reason. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, in July, she posted a photo. It was her, with some random guy. They were standing there, holding hands, both wearing rings. The geotag? California. The caption? Excited to start a new life with such an amazing man. Feeling blessed. Hang tight, Tennessee. We're on our way. I know this whole saga sounds insane, like something out of a soap opera. But I swear to you, this is the truth. I couldn't take it anymore. My curiosity got the better of me. I reached out to one of her relatives, someone I still had a decent relationship with, and asked for details. And what I found out was even crazier than I expected. She met this guy online. They talked for a few months, texts, phone calls, the whole long-distance whirlwind romance thing. Apparently, they fell in love. And then, over the phone, he proposed. And she said yes. Within a week of that proposal, after sending out some half-hearted invites to her family, she married him. They had the ceremony in a small town, just 2 hours from where we grew up. He flew out to California. And on Saturday, they got married. That was also the first day they ever met in person. Let that sink in. They got legally married the same day they saw each other face to face for the very first time. And the wildest part? Not a single member of her family showed up. They had nobody at the ceremony. No guests. No friends. No relatives. Which, I'm sure, absolutely crushed her. By Sunday, they were packing up her things into a moving truck. By Monday, they were on the road, heading to Tennessee. I couldn't believe it. I had multiple people confirm the details, the timeline, the move, everything. And all I could think was, that poor guy. If only he knew what he was getting himself into. And the kicker? He married her in California, a no-fault divorce state. If things go south, he could end up in the exact same situation I was in. But at least, for me, there was a silver lining. They were moving far away. I wouldn't have to worry about running into her ever again. Then, in the fall of 2019, something else happened. Another shock. I was casually scrolling through Instagram when I came across a video. It was my ex-wife. She was holding a plate, standing in front of her father. and he had his hands covering his eyes. Before I even fully processed what I was watching, I saw it. A cookie, covered in blue icing. And then, I heard her voice. 3, 2, 1, it's a boy. It was a gender reveal video. Why the hell was I seeing this? Turns out, her mom had just made a public Instagram account and posted the video, showing her husband celebrating the news of his grandson. And, of course, Instagram's algorithm helpfully decided that this was something I might be interested in seeing. That week was brutal. Sleepless nights. That sick, gut-churning feeling. An awful mix of disgust, pain, disappointment, and maybe, if I'm being honest, a little jealousy. I had always dreamed of being a dad. If she hadn't cheated on me, that could have been my child. I could have been the father. I'm 32 now. I always thought I'd have kids by this age. Instead, I'm not even in a relationship. I'm mature enough to know I still have time. That one day, I'll build a family with someone I truly love, someone who actually respects me. But I can't stop thinking about it. That being said, if I had to choose, I'd rather be me than the poor guy who got her pregnant. I assume the baby's been born by now. Thankfully, no one in my circle told me about her pregnancy or the birth. I still have bad days, and the isolation of the pandemic hasn't made things easier. I'm lucky to have a job that lets me work from home, but damn, it gets lonely. Whenever I start to feel hopeless, I remind myself of those first days after D-Day, how I thought I'd never survive it. But I did, and I'll get through this, too. One day at a time. One moment at a time. To everyone who's read my updates, supported me, given me advice, thank you. You helped me survive these past 2 years. And not just survive, thrive. Update 4. 3 years since D-Day. Over a year since my last update. This past year was the first where I truly focused on myself. I have no updates about my ex. No idea what she's up to. No clue how her life is going. Because I cut her off completely. Blocked her family. Even had to block some mutual friends, just to make sure no unwanted news slipped through the cracks. It was hard. Her family had been my family. I loved some of them like my own. Losing those relationships felt unfair, painful, even. But it had to be done. And I know it was the right call, because with time, there are more and more days where I don't think about her at all. And when I do, it's not with sadness or regret. It's with relief. Thank God I dodged that bullet. This year, with the world shut down, I made a huge career move. I started my own consulting business in IT support and system design, and it paid off fast. Landed a few solid contracts, including 2 with government agencies in my county. It was a lot of work, but I pulled it off. Both contracts got renewed for another 12 months. Being my own boss has been incredibly rewarding. For the first time in years, I feel truly proud of myself. That pride, the confidence that I know I can stand on my own, has changed how I see the past. I'm not stuck dwelling on it anymore. My career is stable. My finances? Better than ever. My mind is clearer. My body is in better shape than when this whole nightmare started. I feel good. But if there's one thing that still lingers, it's trust, especially when it comes to women. This distrust actually helped me transition into running my own business. I don't have to rely on anyone but myself to get the job done. But in my personal life, it's made me indifferent. I don't mind being alone. I even tried online dating briefly. What a disaster. 3 or 4 dates in, I realized something. Dating apps? Just a swamp of broken people. People pretending to want something real when, really, they just crave attention. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate women. Deep down, I want that connection, that intimacy. I want to share my life with someone. But that doesn't mean I'll settle for just anyone, just to avoid being alone. There's this voice in my head. It speaks up more often than I'd like to admit. It tells me, you're 34. You should be married by now. You should have kids. Look at your friends. They're buying houses, traveling, spoiling their kids, living their best lives. And what do you have? Money in the bank? Is that supposed to make you happy? I know I need to keep working on myself. But I also know that chasing some imaginary timeline in my head isn't the answer. For now, I'm grateful. Grateful that this is my life, not some nightmare version where I'm still married to my ex. If I keep putting myself first, if I make the most of every single day, I know I'll look back one day and be proud of the life I built. No matter how it turns out. Thank you to all of you. For your time, your advice, your support, your wisdom. I wouldn't have made it without you.